Welcome to the Local Marketing Source Weekly Update, brought to you by localmarketingsource.com.
This week's Local Marketing Update is brought to you by Scott Gallagher. Scott is the co-founder of Local Marketing Source and has become the recognized expert in providing online marketing services to local businesses. Follow Scott on Twitter at ScottGallagher5 and on Facebook.com/ScottPGallagher.
Good afternoon, everyone. Scott Gallagher here with Local Marketing Source, bringing you our weekly local marketing industry update. Now, next week's LMS member call is going to be Wednesday. What is that? I didn't put the time down. Wednesday, February 15th at 4 p.m. Central or 5 p.m. Eastern, as we typically do. Now, this week we do have a few different things to talk about. There's been a couple of changes within the local SEO industry, and just to be able to talk a little bit about perhaps what some of you guys are currently doing in regards to your strategies for 2017 and perhaps some of your growth for local businesses, what's happening out there, and just, of course, to say hello and what a wonderful day. You know, anybody ever heard of Earl Nightingale? First time I heard of Earl Nightingale was after I hired somebody for Local Marketing Source in 2009. And he used a quote in one of our launches. And I learned that Earl was a gentleman, radio host, talk show on the radio from the 50s. And he was one of the very first major motivational speakers and whatnot. And I just want to bring that up because I was reintroduced to him again in the last day and a half, and I've just had his audio playing in the background. You just go to YouTube, type in Earl Nightingale, and hit any video that's on there, and I'll tell you what, you'll be happy that you do that. You have that stuff playing in the background. There's all these, you know, just little things that pop up, and he'll say, and it's just brilliant, brilliant stuff. So, you know, you can have the radio playing in the background or some talk like that. It's great. There's a lot of videos that are an hour long, an hour and a half long, so you get some good value from it as well. But this week we're going to talk about, I've got 3 different topics. First off, Google lowers the local PAC review star threshold. The local, I've got some local SEO tips that are going to deliver you your business results and get those results and just emphasize on certain things. And, you know, then I'm going to take a different approach, and why we're going to call it content-led SEO is always going to fail. What? You say, what? I thought content was important, Scott. Yeah, well, it is important. And we're going to talk about it more. So let's get into it here. I want to get into, you know, 3 different tips here and for local SEO. Now, you know what, Local Marketing Source, we teach the CPR approach. C standing for content, P for profiles, and R for reviews. Those are the 3 pillars of local SEO. Now, I'm taking a little bit of a different approach here to tell you about 3 different tips that are going to deliver the business result. But keep it in mind that, you know, these are going to fall under the umbrella of C's, because content is most important. Of course, profiles is important, but content is important. And what defines good content is, you know, it's an arbitrary discussion. But let's face it, the real answer to what good content is for a local business, it comes down to sales. It comes down to answering the questions that customers and prospective buyers are going to have, overcoming their objections. And that's really it. Whether we take a plumber or an electrician or a dentist or a chiropractor or a restaurant or, you know, Susie's Handbaskets or, you know, the cleaning lady down the street or the kids' school, grocery stores, you know, corporate stores, corporate chains like TJ Maxx and donation places like Savers. And It doesn't matter. Anything that they're going to create that is content, whether it's a flyer that they're posting on their door or a board that they buy that's hours of operations, or their menu, or an email list, or an ad, a blog post, a press release, a video, business card, brochure, it doesn't matter what marketing piece you're creating. There's content that's on it. And depending on the piece, you're not going to write a paragraph to discuss your hours of operation. You're going to create a nice matrix for it. So depending on the piece, on how that content is presented, kind of like food. Chefs are judged not only on the taste of their food, but on the appearance and the place settings of it. And so it's kind of like that. But it doesn't matter what content we're creating. We want to create content that is going to answer the questions that customers and potential buyers are going to have. And we want to provide answers to them that are going to help them to make their decisions that they're looking to make, overcome their objections as well. So one thing you don't hear talked about a lot in content creation is the FAB approach. F-A-B. I learned this, God, how old am I now? 41. So what is that? 24 years ago. I learned what a FAB was when I got my first sales job at Radio Shack up in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. And they taught us that features don't sell. You've got a cell phone that's got a battery life of 12 hours. Talk time for 12 hours, let's say. I don't know what it was, but that's the feature. The advantage to 12 hours of talk time is you don't have to plug your phone in as much. But the benefit, after asking questions and identifying what benefits are going to apply to the buyer, you can say, this phone has 12 hours of talk time, which means you don't have to plug in your phone as much, which could save you, if price was a thing, save you money on buying an additional external battery. Or with that type of talk time, you're not going to have to end your business calls early and lose that deal. So that's the benefit of a particular feature. So you've got a feature, advantage, and benefit to anything. I can turn around and pick up anything on my desk. A rock. I collect rocks. The feature of this rock is that it's darn hard. The advantage is I can turn around and I can hit my developer over the head with it because it's hard. And the benefit of having a hard rock that I can hit my developer over the head with it is that I can motivate him to work harder. I don't know if any of that's true. And I may get myself in some legal trouble if I did that. But I'm just trying to demonstrate you can take any product and identify the features, advantages, and benefits of it. So content has got to address the benefits that are in there. No matter what content we're creating, it's got to be able to address that. But where am I going with this in terms of tips? And I say, okay, you want to create locally focused content. Great, what is that? What is locally focused content? Guys, 400 words. How do I put this? Here's a little trick that we do. We take our client and we say to our client, go find a charitable organization like Red Cross. You want to do this every 4 months, every quarter, 4 times a year. There are several events throughout the year that you can tie this to. And you go to your client, you say, go to the Salvation Army and tell them that you want to be a drop-off location for your Christmas donation run. Great. They sign you up. They put you listed on their website as a drop-off donation. You get a couple of citations, a couple of links going your way. Then you go and you create a 400-word press release. Use the local marketing source press release template that's available for you to download inside the portal. Take you 30 minutes to write it. go to your local newspaper and send that to them and say, hey, this location at this business is a drop-off point for this charitable organization that's going to take this stuff and go and help out all these kids in need and blah, blah, blah. Boom. They publish the press release. It's free. It's going to be published because it helps the community out. Mark my words. That's going to get published. And now you've got a press release in the local major newspaper that's pointing to your client site or your business. It's gold. Fantastic. And that's just one way to get some very powerful, locally focused content. You know, getting in and talking a little bit about a tip for the second pillar here, for C, and in regards to citations and directories, you know, for local businesses, it's very important to ensure that the business is present, you know, optimized on Google Maps. It just amazes me sometimes how many businesses have yet to claim their listings through Google My Business. And it's really simple to do. It's one of the very first things that should be done, and make sure you've got your consistency across these citations. You know, in the first 30 days, you should get on Google, Yelp, Facebook, Yahoo, Bing, MapQuest, Super Pages, Yellow Pages. Those are all the big ones. They're not that hard to figure out. They happen to be the biggest sites that get out there in terms of traffic. So get there. You know? Let me just do an audio check here. And it looks like we're all good with audio. And here we go, because we're now getting down to our third pillar here, and we're talking about building local links from local businesses. And link building is still probably the most important factor when it comes to SEO, whether it be local or organic SEO. But not all links are equal. And directory links that we talked about, you know, I talked about earlier, were good. But they don't carry the same weight as organic links that are going to your website. Now, local linking to your website, of course, it begins with good research. And there are city-run sites that are a great place for businesses to start. A lot of these sites do have local directories on them. Most of the time, all you need to do is just email the website admin to get a request. Now, I am recording. All right. Now, there's local clubs and different outreach organizations within communities as well, like the Rotary Club, different business groups, that if you provide certain content to what they're looking for, all that takes is to pick up the phone and give them a call and say, you represent this business, this is what we do, how can we offer value to you? And it works over and over and over and over. You also want to try to get links from sites that you may be associated with, perhaps different partners or content that you know, is contextually parallel, but you never, ever, ever, ever want to pay for play. You don't want to get anywhere and give them money just for the sake of getting that. So those three things alone, to focus on that, is massive in local SEO. And if that's all you did, you're going to get results. All right, moving on here. Google lowers the local PAC review star threshold to 3. You know, what that means is, okay, there was a point in time that your business had to have 10 reviews. And after you got 10 reviews, they would show the little orange 5 stars, and then show you the actual stars. If you had less than 10 reviews, it wouldn't show anything that was colored, and your listing wouldn't stand out as much. So we always encourage people to get a number of reviews that we're going to stick. And Google dropped it to 5. Now they've dropped it to 3. So a business needs only 3 reviews to get the star treatment on Google. There's some implications to this, that if those 3 reviews are shitty, your business is going to look worse out there than it did prior to that. So I don't think that there's going to be a lot of businesses that are, run into that problem, but it's, you know, it will make for a lot more reviews. Businesses that have a lot of reviews are not going to stand out as much. But a recent study indicated that 90% of businesses lack online customer reviews. So this new change means that your reputation is going to suffer more with lower number of reviews, even if you had one bad one. So it's time to get ahead of the curve, guys. And, you know, now the next topic is why content-led SEO is not the way to go. And, you know, I've talked about this one at the beginning of the call. And, you know, the implication that at the end of the day, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to get a business more clients or customers or patients? Or are we trying to beat the search engine? And just the term search engine optimization is wrong in itself. But we're not optimizing anything for the search engines. If we start optimizing for the user, that's really what search engines are ultimately looking for. Does a business create marketing material that is optimized for the user? Because we know that there's users all over the internet, on Yelp, on Facebook, on Google, blah, 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 blah. They're on the local newspapers. They're part of the local chamber groups. They're a part of local clubs, et cetera, et cetera. Does that business immerse itself into the local community? That's what it comes down to. So I could say this, beat this one down, but that's why I don't use tools. That's why I'm not a tool guy, because it comes down to organic. So, well, that's it, guys, for the call today. I'm going to give it 30 seconds and come back and answer any questions that you might have. All right. No more questions, huh? All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end this call then. Thank you, and have a great week.
Well, thanks for watching the Local Marketing Industry Update. We've got these things coming out every single week, so if you liked with what you heard, just click the button right above me right here to subscribe to our channel. If you'd like to get a little bit more, right over here, go check out localmarketingsource.com. We've got free reports that you can grab. You can even register for a free marketing course to get in and see the portal. Or just go ahead and follow us on some of the social channels. We'll be around. Until next time.